I am working as an assistant manager at a local KFC where I have worked for roughly 2 to 3 years. I have some very good memories from this place, as well as some really funny stories. We became severely understaffed at one point, and my general manager at the time left to work for Cece's Pizza, another local chain. Because of this, I was left in charge of the store until they found or decided on a replacement for him. After probably 3 months or so, during this time, tensions were high due to our staffing issues, and I was given a raise for holding down the fort and keeping the store open despite most of the employees walking out on me. One night, they finally sent us help, a guy and several of his employees from a store located about 40 minutes away. Some things to understand about this store. It was located in a very wealthy neighborhood and subsequently had very wealthy employees. Anyway, the new manager, Mike, comes in and immediately starts barking orders at everyone. Obviously, no one is listening to him, but when I tell them to do the exact same thing, they get it done post-haste. He asked me why they wouldn't listen to him but would listen to me, and I explained to him that they weren't here for the money but for the experience. I reminded him that they were driving Ferraris to work and that he needed to be both their friend and their boss. In other words, he needed to earn their respect, and they would respect him. He agreed to let up on them and try it my way instead. He did listen to me and started to earn their respect. Then he turned on me and started demanding stupid and ridiculous things around the store, most of which were related to late night cleaning, which he knew I didn't do myself and didn't have time for with deposits and whatnot. I got immediately angry and told him to screw off. After a few weeks of this and a serious amount of stress over the last few months, I decided to put in my 2 weeks notice. At this point, I had already started looking for a job elsewhere and had several offers on the table. I took a job about 2 miles up the street at the local Burger King as their general manager. I ended up working a lot of late shifts because we were understaffed for those particular shifts. This was fine, but it also meant closing the front by myself, mopping storefronts, locking doors, etc., while my cook closed the back of the house. I didn't really pay much attention at first. It was barely noticeable, but at the same time, every night the same car would park in the front of the lot facing the store and just sit there for hours on end. I honestly thought it was kids making out or something at first, but that clearly was not the case. I was always the last to leave the store and set the alarm. One night, the second I locked the door behind me and started to head to my car, the engine turned over in the car at the front of the restaurant. It startled me, so I looked over, but all I could see were the headlights, and the car didn't move. I hurried to my vehicle and started to drive away. The second I left the parking lot, so did the other car. My drive wasn't particularly far from home, but I had this gut feeling that it would be a bad idea to head there. I started down the very empty 1 a.m. highway and switched into the left lane with the guy still following behind me. After a minute or two at 10 or 15 miles above the speed limit, I decided to switch into the right lane and drastically slow down to see if he'd pass me. The guy also switched over and slowed dramatically down. No, I'm not stupid. I know when I'm being followed, and at this point, I'm scared. I grabbed my almost dead phone and called my husband. I frantically spouted off what was going on, and he told me to drive to the police station. So I started heading in that direction. I don't know if this guy caught on to that or not, but right before we hit the road the station is on, he blew by me at an insane speed and kept driving. I turned around and went home. Fast forward another week, and I see the same guy sitting out in the parking lot again in the same car. This time, I called the cops right away at the urging of my cook and my assistant manager. The cops showed up and got the guy to come out of the car. It's Mike from my old job. He told them he wasn't doing anything wrong and had developed a crush on me from our time together at our old job and just wanted to say hi. They didn't arrest him, but told him to get out of there, saying that he was loitering, and it put enough fear into him that thankfully he didn't show back up again. Before we move on to the next story, have you ever experienced such a scary? Please let me know in comments. I'd love to hear your experiences. I'm a small, skinny female student in my late 20s who works part-time as a waitress. It's usual for me to walk home late at night, and my town is not known for much crime. Nothing really ever happened to me here, but sometimes I have strange encounters with customers at the bar where I work. It was about 4 o'clock in the morning a few weeks ago, on a Monday when I was walking home from my late shift on Sunday. I read a lot of stories here, and I'm always aware of my surroundings. I don't like that random customers would know my address or where I live, so I like to take different routes to my apartment. I was on one of the main streets in my city, but it was very late. The city is small, and it happens often that I don't see a single person on the way home. Suddenly, I heard yelling all over the street. Since I was alone, small, and not really strong, I walked slower and hid behind a wall. I tried to figure out where the noise was coming from, and there I saw them. A seemingly young couple arguing heavily over something in the middle of the road. I decided to keep hidden since I didn't know exactly what was going on. I dialed the emergency number of my country just in case I needed it later. I kept watching because I had to pass this way no matter what, and that's when he grabbed her hair and pulled it heavily. He was beating her for a few seconds, still in the middle of the street. The scene was over quickly, and they vanished from my sight behind a big car, still yelling at each other. I thought about calling the police, but thought that nothing could be done because they stopped, and if you get involved in something like this, the woman often sadly denies what happened. I was still hiding behind the wall and was torn. On the one hand, there was nothing to report anymore, and on the other hand, I felt responsible for that girl's safety. I tried to get a little closer, and the yelling stopped. I wasn't able to see them anymore. After waiting for what felt like hours, I decided to continue walking home because there was nowhere else to be seen. Instant regret hit me really hard, but I didn't know what this guy was capable of, or if he was carrying a weapon. Weapons are not that common in my region. I had to do something, so I turned back to where I last saw them, and there was the girl already walking fast towards me, hoodie down, her face showing clearly defensive body language, so I wasn't afraid of her. I could see her realizing that there was another person on the street who could maybe help. The guy was still behind her, apologizing. That's when he also saw me, and he stood still immediately. The girl was crying a little bit as she reached me. I could see she was way younger than me, and I tried to look as angry as possible at her attacker. The guy looked at me and completely stopped following her. I asked her if this was her boyfriend, and she said yes, but only for a couple of dates. She told me she was only 16 and that she had to go home because she was already late. Yeah, a 16-year-old out on a Monday at 4 a.m. Right then, a police car drove by, the only car on the road, and the guy started to scamper away. Their yelling was so loud that, of course, one of the residents heard them and was smarter than me by calling the cops. The girl told me her name and that she didn't want to get involved with the police because of her strict parents and the fact that she was out way too late already. No one in the police car saw us, and I told her to walk home because I wanted her to get there safely. She seemed fine, and we walked away from the police car. It was a dumb thing to do, and I do regret it. I should have insisted that she tell them her story. I know that now. At that moment, I thought it would be the right thing to do. I walked her to our nearby apartment complex, which was not in the direction I had to go. The guy had vanished after seeing the police car, and I made sure he didn't follow us. He actually ran in the opposite direction. I gave her my phone number and told her to send me a quick message when she got home safely because now I kind of felt responsible for her. The next dumb thing I did was not walk her to her door. She was maybe a naive, shy girl, and I told her to break up with that idiot immediately. By that time, he had already sent her 5 messages and called her quite a few times. Thankfully, she never texted back. I hope she got home safe and did break up with him, but I'll never know. I didn't want her to feel forced to give me her number, and I kind of regret that too. It's likely that this was just a fight between two young and dumb kids, but I hate the uncertainty that left me. To me, he seemed vicious, but not serial killer crazy. Maybe she was just too cool or afraid to text me, or she found it not important enough to follow up. But I hope that she got home safe. If you found these stories chilling, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more gripping tales. Share your story in the comments below. I'd love to hear your experiences. Stay safe, and thanks for watching.